Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second She Speaks. This is a 5-week series that we are running on Tuesdays. And so this is the second out of, second out of 5. And we're so happy to do this series in partnership with Launchpad, and we'll talk a little bit about the KSL Institute and also Launchpad for those who are not familiar, but really get you quickly to the content and our guest speaker today, Professor Jessica Ciarla, who is in the College of Natural Sciences. So thank you all for joining. We are recording this, so we will share it and have all of our She Speaks actually archived on the KSL Institute website so soon. So a little bit about the Kendra Scott Well Institute. We are interdisciplinary. We physically live in the College of Fine Arts with our beautiful new Kendra Scott Center. And then we also have partnerships with McCombs College of Natural Sciences, Cockrell School of Engineering, Undergraduate Studies, and the College of Fine Arts. So we're so happy for you to be here. Just 2 quick announcements. We have our fall 2020 semester courses that are accepting applications, so you do have to apply. One of those courses is actually going to be taught by Professor Ciarla, so we're so happy to have that as a repeat course. And I hope that she'll talk a little bit about her course in her intro. If you haven't taken it, it's always so popular, and I know that the students get so much out of it. So I hope she'll promo that just a little bit. And then also our female founder pitch competition applications are open until the end of May. So they will close on May 31st. And we hope that you'll consider pitching. We now have a date actually for the pitch competition, so we'll be announcing that so soon. It's October 13th, and also we have an exciting update in that we will have over $50,000 in cash prizes available to those who take the stage and win in one of the different 5 categories that you see on your screen here. So that's just a little bit about the KSL Institute, but you can follow us on all of the social media channels at KSL Institute, join our newsletter, and we have a very robust Slack too. So anyway, so glad to see y'all here.
All right, thank you, Leslie. And obviously, if you can't tell, I'm joined by my colleague, Rumi. So apologies if she's just like all over the place and muting me. Next slide, please. All right, so what is the Launchpad? If you haven't heard of us, we are a program of UGS, the School of Undergraduate Studies, and our mission is to help students of all backgrounds navigate and explore entrepreneurship. We're part of this greater global Blackstone Launchpad and Techstars network of 30 campuses, including UCLA, UT Dallas, NYU, A&M. So really lots of connectivity with other entrepreneurship ecosystems across the US and Ireland. So kind of our 3 main services, we're here to help students navigate and find the right opportunities. Type in the chat real quick, guess how many entrepreneurship resources there are for students at UT Austin. Give me like a number. And resources can be centers like the Well Institute and the Launchpad. It can be courses, it can be certificate programs, funding opportunities. All right. All right, I think we're getting close. We are probably between 50 to 75 right now, and it can definitely get overwhelming for students to navigate. So we're here to customize and point you in the right direction. We also have our own signature programs to fill in pockets and needs where services don't exist. And because we're in UGS, we're open to all disciplines and we serve students at scale. Next slide, please. So regardless of wherever you are on your entrepreneur journey, we're here to serve you. We have a whole suite of services from, like I said, kind of concierge wayfinding. We're a physical co-working space in the FAC for when fall comes back around and it's safe. And we have mentorship, a summer accelerated program, and lots of exclusive opportunities from Blackstone Launchpad and Techstars, like special events in New York or special startup weekends with other schools. So excited for that to happen again in real life. Next slide, please. And then just last 2 call to action. If you haven't already, just take a picture real quick, QR code, and sign up for our biweekly newsletter. It goes out every other Wednesday, and that's how you can stay on top of all of the resources at UT and beyond. Follow us on social at Launchpad UT. Next slide, please. And this is something that we're really excited about. We recognize that pursuing entrepreneurship as an extracurricular activity is definitely a privilege. And so we are committing $15,000 every semester to give out in the form of $500 to $5,000 grants. So if you're interested in customer discovery, if you want to launch a prototype, if you're wanting to intern with a startup that's low paying or non-paying, you definitely qualify. And we're prioritizing students in UGS programs like bridging disciplines or, first year interest groups, as well as success initiatives. So please apply. Deadline is Monday. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks. And if this time works for you, mark your calendars. So the next She Speaks is going to be next Tuesday, April 13th, and it's going to be with Doreen Lorenzo and focus on ideation. And if you have not heard Assistant Dean Lorenzo speak before, she is fantastic and a expert in the area of design thinking. So I think that will be a really great treat for our students. But now let's get on to today's She Speaks. I'm so happy to introduce Professor Ciarla, who also is one of our faculty fellows for the KSL Institute. And I will let you take it away from here, Professor Ciarla.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, I'm getting off of mine so you can get on.
Okay. And so there's a lot of things up, sorry. Can you see that? Okay, great. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Jessica Ciarla and I am an assistant professor in the Division of Textiles and Apparel. So my background is in the fashion industry and I'm here to talk about effective decision-making. I'm going to talk about it from my personal perspective as both an entrepreneur and a designer. And this is just kind of something really funny that I saw. Be decisive, right or wrong, make a decision. The road of life is paved with flat squirrels who couldn't make a decision. Isn't that true? And don't worry, that squirrel is alive. He's okay. He was just on my backyard porch on a hot August day in August, which we all know. We all feel like that in Texas. So yeah, this is true. You've got to make a decision or else you're going to get stuck and flatten like the squirrel. There we go. So a little bit about my professional background. I'm originally from California and I had always wanted to work in fashion publishing. So that meant working for magazines that focus on fashion. It is a dying breed now, everything's online. But what I decided was I couldn't find a job in LA that served this category. So I had to move to New York, which is the capital of fashion. And so I got a job. I sold everything that I had in my LA apartment, my car. I moved in 2 weeks, was dropped off in the corner on 75th and 2nd in a blizzard in January. I knew nothing about New York. I had no friends. I didn't know how to maneuver around the subway. I didn't know that you had to tell a messenger service that, it's 75th between 2nd and 3rd on the west side. I had no clue what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to work there. I knew I wanted to work in the industry. So I made that decision and got myself there. As I started working through the industry for magazines, I realized it wasn't creative enough and I wanted to explore more hands-on styling and design. So I started freelancing for free, working with other editors, learning how to style, taking classes at Parsons, doing a fashion certificate there, and then finally got a position working for a small apparel designer. And what was great about working with a small apparel designer is you do everything. She was her own boss. She did production. So I did production. I designed, I sold, I managed a small team of production. I did everything. So I really learned what it meant to run a business. And after about a year of working there, I was only about 24. I thought, well, I can do this. I'm going to put together a collection of just like 4 looks. And that'll be my collection. I've taken some classes at Parsons. I'm working with a designer. I know how PR works and publishing. And I did, and it shot off. Like it went crazy. It went into all these different magazines. I got a showroom. I had stores purchasing the collection. I didn't even know how to produce yet. And I had Vogue Nippon calling, asking me to model the collection and show it in their magazines. And I figured, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to focus. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm 23, 24. I have no mentor. And I'm just going to launch my own brand and figure this out. So what I've learned along this very messy way of becoming an entrepreneur is I worked in publishing. I worked for another entrepreneur where I learned multiple aspects of the industry. I then worked in PR. I worked as a wholesale sales rep. I worked in styling. All of these different careers really made sense for what I needed to be doing as an entrepreneur. So all they looked very fragmented and I looked, like I was all over the place to my friends. It all made sense to me as an entrepreneur because I needed to speak the language to all of these people and have a basic general idea of what they do, or do it myself because I was a small business and had to self-fund everything. So that perspective I brought back into my teaching style. And Leslie mentioned that I'm teaching this course. I designed this course based on my experience as an entrepreneur working in New York in the fashion industry and partnering with Kendra Scott because they are doing it at a mass level, at a very successful level. So having that contrast of the small entrepreneur and the larger company, it's just really beneficial to students so they can see it from a more holistic perspective. The point of this course is to learn about the content, but you don't have to be a designer. You don't have to know a lot about PR. You just have to bring your background and your individual perspective to the class, because you're going to share that experience with a group of women or men who are very different, possibly similar from you, and who are all going to bring their strengths into each project. So this class looks at consumer research, product design and development, merchandising, and product launching. That was everything I had to do as an entrepreneur. So I wanted to show students that you don't always get this rubric and these, requirements that you have to fill out. Sometimes you get the problem and you have to go figure it out as an individual with hopefully support, but there's no answer. There's no right or wrong. It's just your perspective. So it's very student-led driven. I've also brought this perspective into the TXA social media account that I created. There was a lot of hesitance around building that. And I had this vision and I thought, we need to show the amazing work our students are doing, and I'm going to build it and I'll show you and I'll create it. And it's been just an amazing platform for students to collaborate and showcase their work. And then the buttons up above, those are actually sustainable buttons that my students have created using hemp and hemp. And we have coffee, algae, and this is a research project that I worked on because I wanted to bring in sustainable embellishments into the industry. I don't know if you're familiar with Stella McCartney, but I was at a summit and she said, I can't find sustainable embellishments. And I thought, well, maybe I can figure out how to make that for you. And I'm not a material scientist. I don't know chemical composition, but I know how to partner with people who do. And I know how to bring together people with different strengths who want to work together to build things. So that's the key takeaway. I want you to understand that you don't have to be an expert in everything. You just need to know how to communicate, have a vision, and how to seek out that opportunity to make it happen. So think about experience and how that makes the unapparent, how it helps you make the unapparent connections. So all these experiences that you're having and all of these challenges that you're giving yourself, they may not seem like they connect, but later in life, you're going to create these connections where you're like, oh, that thing that I did 13 years ago, that makes sense now for what I'm doing right now. So it may seem like you're wasting time learning something that you're not focusing on, but I always try to get students away from being too siloed in one specific field, branch out, learn something completely unrelated and unexpected, and you're gonna realize how that comes back to you later that you never could have imagined. So in the chat, let me see if I can see the chat. Who thinks this way? This is the rational decision-making model. Does anyone think this way in terms of, this is what I'm working on in my PhD. It's very focused on a dissertation. You identify the problem, you establish decision criteria, you weigh the decisions, you have the best alternatives, and then you make that decision and then you evaluate it. Can you guys give me a thumbs up or say yes? Does anyone think like this rational decision-making model? I would be in awe if you did. And if you do, please hang out with me more because I need this around me. But this is how my brain works, right? I'm swirling and, things are over here and I'm looking at something, but I'm thinking about this. And it's been like that forever. So as a child, I'd be in my head, and I see my son doing this as well. He's in his head. But it works. It works for me. And it's constant movement, constant connections, and it's all over the place, but it's organized when I apply it. So that's where the decision-making comes in. So I say, ignore the checklists and models, and instead focus on the following. Look at your biases, look beyond what you already know, right? Because we already know what we created in that box. And the choices. In fact, the more choices that you're given, the less effective you are. You tend to get too scattered and you don't know which direction to go in. So give yourself choices, but don't overwhelm yourself. And then attention. Multitasking slows the brain down, and I am guilty of this. So there's ways that I figured out how to multitask where I'm working on one project at the moment and not scattering. Most important, fear, right? Fear of failure or of making the wrong decision gets in our way. Who has been a victim of your own fear? Raise your hand or type in the chat. Yeah, me too, constantly. So you have to use fear as a way of alerting you to your priorities, but not of getting in the way of you making a decision and moving forward. And then that noise, right? I'm sure we're all experiencing it so much right now during the pandemic. We're just on our computers, that organizational noise, your meetings, PowerPoints, emails, or your internal noise. So that's your fears, your priorities, your doubts. You've got to get them out of the way. They're there to warn you, but you can't let them take over. So I want you guys to think about a time when you let one of those factors interrupt your decision. So if it was a bias, a choice, attention, noise, fear, I can give you an example because I want you to share that one with me. So noise. I am addicted to my phone. My phone's with me all the time. I can be in a meeting and I'm checking emails and I'm responding to them. I can be working on my dissertation and I get distracted because the texts are coming in, the emails coming in. So this is a really bad distraction for me where I have a hard time turning it off. I'm someone who an email comes in, I want to respond right away. And that's not always the most effective way of handling your focus or decision-making process. So can anyone think of one of these factors that's interrupted your decision-making and share that with us? And raise your hand if you've got one. Yes, Emma.
I think that fear can stop me, especially in the pandemic, with doing anything and trying to do things safely, but also wanting to kind of live that normal life, even though we sometimes can't.
Absolutely. Is anyone feeling the same way as Emma? I am.
Yes. And
right.
Yeah, I think too, I think especially in this pandemic, this idea of attention and fear and noise are all compounding. And so I feel like my cognitive bandwidth is just shot at the end of every day. And like you said, I think even before the pandemic, it was important. And now it's even more important than ever to manage our like attention and information environment. So yeah, I think Tessa has something to share.
Yeah, thanks, Nina.
Hi, sorry if there's a lot of background noise, but I was just going to say that choices is a really big thing for me. I just get overwhelmed by like all of the possibilities and everything that I could do that sometimes it just stops me from making the decision like completely because there's just so many different ways it could go. And then I have to think through all the different options and it just gets to be too much.
Right. And there seem to be more and more choices today, especially because we have so much access to online platforms. Communications just bombarding us from every single network that we have, right? Okay, great. Thank you. So yeah, thinking about what is getting in your way. So Samuel Beckett and Alberto Giacometti, Samuel was a writer. Alberto is a famous sculptor who I'm a huge fan of. And their famous saying was, fail again, fail better. And this is something that I tell my students, especially when they're trying something new that they don't have a lot of experience in. What happens that I've seen students is they freeze up and they go, I don't know what you mean. What exactly do you want from me? And I say, I don't know exactly what I want from you. I want you to create it, but here's your guide and here's your problem and you figure it out, right? And that's what I did in my career. So go into it with thinking that you're going to fail, but that failure isn't bad. It's a learning opportunity. It's a way, each time you fail, you're gaining new knowledge, you're gaining new experiences. It's not something where you need to get this A or this perfect score. It's part of your life. It's part of living. It's part of experiencing joy through failure. So change the meaning of failure. So what happens when we no longer feel failure? What do you guys think? What happens if you didn't have that fear? What kind of decisions would we make? Can you think of anything? Yes, Emma.
I think we can become unmotivated.
So if you have that fear, you're unmotivated. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you just said it. When we no longer have that fear, we're motivated. We move. We take action, right? So if you remove the fear, you're going to do whatever it is that you want to do. So think about that. If you could just subdue it, you're going to move and you're going to create action to achieve your goals. So here's a model that I do like. It's Jeff Bezos, the regret minimization framework. When I'm 80 years old, will I regret not doing this? Yes, then do it. No, let it go. And this is typically what I look to. Am I going to regret this? And am I going to regret not trying? It's one thing that I'm going to fail or embarrass myself, because that's happened before as well. But am I going to regret not doing this? Is that going to gnaw at me for the rest of my life? And that motivates me enough to say, okay, well, I don't care if I'm afraid. I'm going to do it anyway. So this model is really inspiring to me, and it gets me moving and trying things that I'm not qualified necessarily to try, but I figure out how to get it done by partnering with other people and collaborating with other experts. So what will you regret not doing? Can you guys think about that? Is there something that you want to do, but you're afraid to do right now? Is there some place you want to go? And of course, you know that you can't travel right now because of the pandemic, but is there, did you want to go skydiving, or did you want to take this class, but you're afraid because it's not in your major? Can you think of something that you'll regret not doing? I can think of one thing, but I'm not really afraid of not doing it. I'm just not ready. I eventually want to live on the beach, and that would require uprooting my whole life here and moving my children. I know I'll do it someday. I'm just not quite ready to do it now. But that thought of it is kind of, well, how am I going to make that happen, right? Logistically, it's not just about me anymore. I have a whole family. So what do you think about that? And you don't have to answer, but I just want you to think about what you will regret not trying. And then how do you define success? Because this really helps you understand your priorities and what you want to go after in life. Is it money? Is it your career, your health, your spiritual growth? Can you guys type into the chat a few words of how you define success? And I'll read them off. Security, yes. And that can mean different things to different people, right? Personal growth and happiness. Your impact, yeah. Aligned values, yep. Great. Mental health and sustainability. Ooh, mental health, that's a tough one. That's a challenging one right now. Great. Yeah, so everyone's definition of success looks different. So your priorities and your decisions are going to look different as well. Oh, sorry. So are your wants external or internal? And I'm seeing a mixture. Well, most of these are internal, depending on how you define them. But external would be, money, career. Internal are those values that you have. So think about, what do you want and how will you get it? Because those are the first thoughts in determining the decisions that you're going to make. And I love this quote, because I had a student last year, she was graduating and I was writing her a recommendation letter, and she said, my friends are doing this and they have careers and they're getting this job and, in Hong Kong, and this one's just got an offer, and I'm just not quite sure even what I want to do. And I said, please stop looking at what your friends are doing and the decisions they are making for their lives, because that's not what's important to you. Figure out what you want. And so this quote, don't let others tell you what you can't do. Don't let the limitations of others limit your vision. If you can remove your self-doubt and believe in yourself, you can achieve what you never thought possible. So this is the only time where I say, stay in that siloed focused mode. Stop looking to other people. Those are their paths, their successes, their decisions, and look to what your future is and what you want, because that's not helping you. It's only motivating, it's unmotivating you. So don't worry about that. Celebrate their achievements, but also focus on what you want, because that's going to look very different. So think about your priorities and make your decisions around them. So for me, I was thinking family, money, health, career, travel. Right now, family and career are kind of my top priorities. And I can see that with the decisions that I'm making. So if I look at family, I prioritize my children. And you can see that because they're in swim team and we just bought them this huge trampoline and one of them has a math tutor. So all of the decisions that I'm making are supporting family. And then career, I'm part of the Well Institute and I'm doing a research project and I'm really passionate about what I'm teaching and I'm doing a PhD. So those decisions that I've made are supporting that priority. And if you look at my health, things are getting kind of sad over here, right? It's not really a high priority right now. I'm lucky if I get one walk in a day. I've been eating candy since December. That's what happens when you have kids. You got Christmas and Halloween and then Valentine's Day. We just had Easter and it never goes away. The candy is always there. So again, if you set your priorities and then start making the decisions around those priorities, you can see how you're supporting what you want. And these could be long-term or short-term goals. So go for it. I love this quote from Albert Einstein. Only those who attempt the absurd can achieve the impossible. Go for it, right? If it's absurd to someone else, it doesn't matter. That's not their path. It's yours. These are your priorities. These are your short or long-term goals. It's your life. Figure out what your priorities are and then start making decisions around to achieve those goals. There's a TED Talk, and I'm going to actually post the link in the chat, and I would just recommend that you watch it at another time. But it's really interesting because it talks about grit. Do you guys know what grit is? Can anyone describe it or explain grit, what they think it is? No, Trinola, it looks like you might know. What do you think?
When I think grit, I just think of like grits, which is kind of like
food. Yeah, no. But yes, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. Watch the TED Talk. It's only 5 minutes long, but I love it because basically what she says is it doesn't matter what your economic background is. It doesn't matter if you have talent. It doesn't matter if you're the smartest person in the room. What it means, and I see, yeah, tenacity, resilience, good. What it means is, do you have the guts to see it through? Are you in it for the long haul? So the most successful people are the ones who have grit. They're not giving up. It doesn't matter if they don't know what they're doing. They're going to figure it out and they're going to make it happen. So the most important attribute is grit. It's not intelligence or money or knowledge. So I thought it was a really interesting study and I highly recommend that you watch it. But I will send it in the post after the presentation. And then finally, I just wanted to go over, Leslie, you had some assets about the Well Institute. And so this is Leslie's contact information and the website for the Kendra Scott Institute. And these are different ways that you can get engaged with the Well Institute. You can join the Well Institute mailing list, follow them on social media. You can attend the events like the one we're having today, the Slack community space. I know I am on that Slack account, and then read the Institute blog. There is a student advisory board. Is anyone on that board who's in here today? No?
Tessa is.
Yes,
Oh,
I
Tessa.
am.
Hi. And then here is the social media site. You can see those earrings on the upper left-hand side. Those are from my class. So students actually designed those earrings, and then Kendra Scott is distributing them across the country in their name and donating the proceeds back into the Well Institute. So amazing. And these are people who have never designed jewelry or fashion ever. I had someone from government and they're like, "What? How am I doing this?" I'm like, "Because you're trying it, you're doing it, you're making it happen." And I'm not teaching them, I'm just facilitating. So it's amazing what you can do when you have just a little bit of confidence to try something new and not be afraid of it. And then these are the, this is the newsletter that you can sign up for. And that is it. So I wanted to see if you had any questions. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to copy and paste that grit TED Talk in there. Let me stop.
Is it Angela Duckworth? Is that right? Did I get that right? Is that who the speaker is, the author?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I have it a long time ago. I would very much welcome rewatching it in this like new chapter of life.
Put it on my Facebook account because it felt really inspiring and also just supportive. Like, okay, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I can still do this if I just have the tenacity to see it through. Yeah.
Well, you are one of the most tenacious people I know, Professor Ciarla, and thank you so much for your time. I don't know if there's any questions, but I am welcome to stay around. I know that you've got to jump so soon, but anyone have questions? Emma, maybe you came off mute.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I'm actually an incoming freshman for UT next year, and I was wondering, I've seen the Well Institute and like all you guys do, and I follow you guys on Instagram. It's like really cool to me. Am I allowed to apply for these classes as an incoming freshman during this time of window?
So each class is going to be different. I know Professor Ciarla's textiles and apparel course is only, unfortunately, for upperclassmen, but I do think that you would be able to go ahead and apply and see if you'll get into the Women in Entrepreneurship class or the practicum course, because it is application based. Obviously there's a review that will go, but I say go for it. And I love that you're joining as an incoming freshman, and I'm going to like plug Student Advisory Board as well, because applications to join that will be open in mid-April. So I love that you're already following our Instagram, but we'd love to have you more involved in the KSL Institute, and the Student Advisory Board is a great way to do that.
Thank you. This was super motivating.
Good. Tessa's saying yes, apply for SAB as an SABer.
Also quickly before Professor Ciarla has to hop off, I just want to add that like I absolutely love that she is this type of entrepreneur that you don't necessarily see promoted. If you attended our first talk, we talked about the persona of how entrepreneurship is portrayed in media, and it's very, you know, white, male dominated technology company, went to college, dropped out of college, found in your dorm room, went public. Right. And just because that narrative is the one that's most told does not mean that that's the only version of what it means to be an entrepreneur. So I love that Jessica is interested in sustainability. I love that you shared your New York story, that you can be a mom, that you can be, you know, a faculty member and still having your side hustle and being more whole about how you pursue and fold entrepreneurship into your life.
Thanks, Nina. Yeah, I think the main takeaway from if you have one is don't set limits for yourself and connect with people. That's typically how I get everything done. I mean, if I have an idea and I connect with someone, they send me to the next person to connect with, and then these things just come together. So it's all about communication and connection. So never put limitations on what you can achieve, and figure out what your priorities are and just go after them. That's it. It's so easy.
Well, you're a perfect guest speaker for SHEspeaks, because we really wanted to do this series as a supplement to other topics happening around campus around entrepreneurship, but to put it from a female woman's perspective and to hear about the experience and story and case study of what it means to be in entrepreneurship. So thank you so much for sharing yours. I actually learned a lot. I didn't know so much about being dropped off in a blizzard in New York City, but that's hardcore. So that takes tenacity and resilience and initiative and all of the things that you would think of when you hear the word grit. So thank you all so much. I'll stay around for just a few minutes, but Professor Ciarla, we really appreciate you. Cheers.
Thank you so much. It was great to see you all.